Hello, welcome to Lost and Found No More Secrets. My name is Heidi Billingsley Keuper, and I am the host of the show. I am a genetic genealogist with DNAngels. DNAngels is a dedicated nonprofit organization helping people to discover their biological truth. Whether they are adopted, an NPE, meaning not parent expected, donor conceived, or they just never knew who their biological parent is, we're there to help. Join us on today's episode as we explore the powerful journey of one of our very own clients, following their path from feeling lost to finally being found. Discover how they reclaim their sense of identity, proving that one sense of identity is more important than someone else's secrets. Hello, and welcome back to Lost and Found No More Secrets. As always, I'm your host. My name is Heidi, and I'm joined again with Lara, we are both genetic genealogists, volunteers with DNAngels. And today we have a special guest, David. David just happens to be a friend of Lara's, and she worked his case. So, Lara, would you mind giving a little backstory about David, how you know him, how he came to you, and what his situation is?
Sure. Well, hi, everyone. Dave and I have known each other for forever. We're from a very, very small town in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. I actually know his partner, Tracy, who actually was pretty instrumental in doing a lot of this. I know her from college and from all over the place. So we're, these little small towns, we're all kind of interconnected. So right. I've known them forever. And Dave actually contacted me that he had finished his DNA test and he had found his father, but not his mother. Okay. And I do know Tracy was behind the scenes in a lot of that, trying to figure out we should hire her because she was like really, really digging in and everything. Uh-huh. And it was a little bit tricky, but we ended up solving it. So it was really fun to work with someone I've known forever.
That's neat. That's neat.
But and I know he's actually told some of our friends that he's run into in like the bars or something. He's been like, "Oh, Lara did this," and obviously I didn't tell anyone. And I didn't even know he was adopted. So, but now he's Italian like me, so we got that going.
Even more in common. Let's bring David up to the show.
Okay.
Hey. Hi, David. Welcome. Thank you so much for agreeing to be our guest today.
My pleasure.
Well, I always like to start out with you telling us a little bit about your family structure and what it was like growing up for you.
I had a great life growing up. It was in Holland.
Holland.
Yeah,
it's
not the Holland.
Holland, Pennsylvania.
That's a little bit different.
Great life growing up. I also had a younger adopted sister. We were both adopted. My mom told us about it like when I was about 7 years old, and made her my sister 4. And I didn't really think anything of it. I was just like, I didn't really know what it was.
You didn't understand what adopted meant.
I didn't understand what adopted was, but she was like my mom and my dad, and I had a great life growing up. And I never really knew, about you find your adopted, your biological parents and stuff like that. Never really wanted to because I had such a good life. So
right. Yeah, your sister still doesn't want to find out her parents, right?
She does not at the moment.
Right.
No. But yeah, and
So what age were you when you realized what adopted actually meant, and did that change your mindset at all about your family dynamics?
No, not really. No,
because you had such an ideal life.
Yeah, I had such a nice life, and it was there wasn't no anything.
Yeah.
It was just,
but you never wondered where do I get my smile from, or my nose, or my
right? I didn't.
You didn't have that curiosity at all.
Yeah, I was just like, yeah, I always thought I was like an Italian or like a son of like a baseball player. I always thought that, it's like, so I was curious, but I didn't really seem to care, too much to find out, and then, I moved away to Colorado for like 18 years. I came back here and, basically, my partner Tracy, she's just like, oh, you ever want to find out like who your, parents are? Like, I was just like, no, like, she's like, how about like doing like a thing to find out what, nationality you are and stuff like
Right.
that. So
What did that turn out to be?
and it was cool. We had like a little party. We had like a little, guess my nationality and stuff like that. So and we knew I was Italian, but we didn't know how much Italian I was. I turned out to be like it's like 67% Italian
Quite a
and
bit.
yeah, and like 30% Polish.
Did
So-
your adoptive parents have any information about your biological parents? Did you get any kind of a story? Mom was young, or did you have any kind of tidbit?
It's actually a crazy story because I was a black market baby.
Well,
And
you can't stop there. You have to keep going.
I
Please,
know.
please explain.
It's a crazy story. In the early 70s, there was this lady, Estelle Katz Barkin.
Yeah.
She was running she was pretending to be a lawyer, and she would fly down to Florida and adopt babies from Florida. And that's some information here. It was like she would like register these babies in, it was like Juarez, Mexico or something like that.
Okay, wait, hold on. I'm confused a second. Let's back up just a little bit. So she would go to Florida and adopt the baby. So she would present herself as an adopted mother, or
She pretended she was a lawyer. She actually wasn't. She never passed the bar or something like that, but her husband was. So she would bring the babies back up to Philadelphia and it's primarily for Jewish families around like the Philadelphia area, New York and New Jersey. And I apparently I was supposed to go to a different family, but the other family wanted a girl, so they passed up on me, and they called my parents, and I was sent to them. So it's a crazy story.
Did your adoptive parents realize that there was something kind of a miss going on?
I think so, but they just wanted like a
They
baby.
wanted a baby so bad.
Yeah. And
how old were they whenever you were adopted?
Let's see. They're probably like 28.
Okay.
Yeah. But my mom couldn't have a baby because of health reasons. And so they adopted me. But yeah, that's this whole black market baby. It was so crazy because she would hide like the files or something like that, or say they were burned, in a fire or like something. And she did like I want to say like around 1,000 adoptions throughout the 70s.
Yeah,
And
she did 1 or 2 a week, according to like news articles.
Yeah.
She was trained by someone named Helen Tannis Hope, who also was really big into black market babies.
Yeah.
Was this ever in the news?
I'm looking at an article right now. Dave, you had some too.
Yeah, I had this little article here, and it was quite fascinating to know that. And an even crazier thing was that my adoptive parents, they knew the lady, and they were like friends with her and stuff like that. And apparently she had adopted about, I think it's 5 or 6 kids. It might be less, maybe it might be over exaggerating there, but she adopted some of these kids. And apparently a couple of years later, we were watching them, the kids, while she would like go and down and pick up like other kids for other families.
So she must have had some kind of connection in
Yeah.
Florida.
Yeah.
That was, somebody.
Yeah. It was a thing with Florida.
Well, and it gets a little even more juicy. I know, Dave, that you and I've talked before about her doing this, but in the newspaper article, someone named Lisa, who was one of the babies, they had never got adopted out, and Barkin just kept them in her basement throughout their childhood. Like,
that's awful.
Kept these kids. They grew up in a basement.
So they when they grew up, they said she was abusive to them.
Did she ever get any kind of? Was she ever put in jail because of this? Was she ever caught? Did she ever serve any legal repercussions?
So. Yeah, I think she when we look her up and everything, she had to be like about 93 or 95 or something. So I don't even know if she was capable of speaking or whatever. But I think like when, the law moved in on her, she would always, like she either, like I said, burned her files or, moved them somewhere and just they never found them. So.
And her husband was actually a real lawyer.
Yeah.
Her husband was. So I think he
did all the paperwork.
A lot of manipulating. And, back in the 70s, it wasn't like it is now, But as of 2011, she was still alive and not in jail.
Yeah.
Crazy. Thank God we have you. Like, you could have been a basement kid.
Yeah. It was pretty crazy finding out all that stuff out. And, I couldn't even fathom it, like when I first found out. But, I'm like, I guess everything happens for a reason, like, I know that, my mom was, just gung ho to have a baby. My dad actually, when he signed like the birth certificate or something like that, he's like, oh yeah. He's like, I know you have it like you have an Italian on one side and Polish on the other side. And he's like, I can't for the life of me remember their names. And, I think he's telling the truth. Like he probably just signed it real quick, but, and,
are your parents still alive?
Yes.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah. And my biological parents are still alive too.
Okay. So, well, let's get to this. So you take a DNA test, you see, hey, Lara knows about this DNA stuff. Let me connect with her. So,
well, no, actually, it was about 8 or 9 years ago. I did the 23andMe.
Okay.
And
and that's when you found your paternal side of the family.
Yeah. Well, no, I didn't find out anything. I just found out that I was mostly Italian and some, Balkan and Polish or whatever. And that was all for fun and everything. And then up until like 2 years ago, like I would be on the site or whatever, and it would come up, you have a fourth cousin once removed, or, third, fourth, fifth cousin, or something. And nothing ever really popped up. And then 2 years ago, Tracy's like, oh, have you checked on 23andMe? I'm like, oh no, I'll check. And I checked, and it was just like, boom, you have a half sister. I was just like, holy, like my heart stopped. I was just like, holy crap, this is it. Like this is like the break we're looking for. And so like on this site, I got in touch with her, and she was living out in Montana at the time. And she still is there now, but I didn't notice it for like 2 or 3 months. So she was probably like thinking that I was just like, oh, I don't want to don't know her, I just would get caught in my messages, and I'd scroll right through, and I'm like, oh, it's just gonna be nothing, and that. So we talked for hours on the phone, and she's just like, yeah, I know you are my dad. You are my half brother, and it's from my dad. And I was like, oh my gosh. And she's like, you have two other half sisters, and you have another sister who was, I guess she wasn't blood related to Tom, but she was like, she was eventually adopted, like, or
Okay.
she was part of the family through the mom, like, you know. And
so I want to hear more about connecting with your half sister. What was that like, talking to her on the phone for the very first time?
It was so cool. It was like we were, you know, both just going through like our whole lives and everything. And she's just like, tell me all about, my father and stuff like that, and the sisters, and how everyone was just, so.
Tell them about the reunion when you went to New York.
Well, to say the least, they're just like, I'd like to tell you something good about my father, but there's not too much to tell, but he was like basically like a bookie, like, and an alcoholic, and stuff like that. Just like, I'm like, oh, okay, so I get some of my stuff from him, I'm sure. And yeah, she was like, oh, like, well, I'm going to call all relatives and everything back there and tell them about you. And, I'll give you all their phone numbers and everything, and say, probably be expecting a call from our, long lost half brother. And, so I call up everybody, and they're all just like, oh, how does, like have it? I'm just like, oh, it's a 23andMe. It's like, DNA test and everything. We got the same, DNA, and they're all just like, oh, like everyone was a little skeptical at first and everything. But then my half sister that I talked to the first time, she sent me like a picture of her when she was younger. And I said, I had a picture of me when I was younger, and we almost look exactly alike.
Really? As an adopted person, how cool is that to see really somebody cool that actually looks like you?
Yeah. It was
Pretty
so
cool.
I have the pictures upstairs. That's funny. We put them side to side and everything. And they were both class clowns, so and everything. So it was really cool. So and just so happened to be that 2 weeks after, the next day, I talked to all my relatives that I could, and they're like, "Oh, we're having a reunion. Just so happens to be in 2 weeks."
Wow, that's soon.
And they're in upstate New York. I'm just like, all right, it's a 4-hour drive. We'd do it. We'll be there. And everyone was like, they were so nice. It's like, my aunt's just like, oh, you can stay with us and everything. It's just like,
that is so cool.
I was like, wow, I get up there, and so my family tree for me went from like, I'd say about like 8 to 10 people to like 60.
Wow. Was that overwhelming for you though, to meet all that many? I mean, they just have to meet one person. You have to meet 100 people. I like, all eyes are on you.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty, laid back kind of guy, and I can get along there. So it was like, I felt like I was like I actually knew him, before, I guess. That's from talking with a lot of them before I went up there. And we got the whole big group picture and everything. And unfortunately though, like my one half sister who started all this, whatever, she was still out in Montana. She couldn't make it home for the reunion, so I never actually met her. So,
did you end up staying at the aunt's house?
No, we didn't. I didn't want to impose. I didn't know what the situation would be, so we just got a hotel. It was like right down.
Well, so what happened? Oh, go ahead, Heidi. Sorry.
What happened to Bio Dad? He's no longer with us?
No, he's there.
Oh, have you met him?
Oh yeah, I met him and everything. Yeah,
I want to hear about that.
Oh, it was crazy. It was pretty funny because he's, I guess with age and health issues and stuff like that, he's about 71 when I met him and everything. But he's like kind of like a curmudgeon, and he's like doesn't talk too much. He's like, oh yeah. So, but but then we got one-on-one when we were up there, and like I think he was like in shock at first because like when I actually met him the night before like the reunion because we went up and the night before and went over to my aunt's house and it was her brother, and that was like actually the family house where they grew up in.
Wow.
So yeah, it was and my grandfather they're I guess Tom's father, Fred, I look a lot like too, and it's I got that side of the family, and I think Tom actually he looks like kind of like my grandmom and that side of the family. So it's like a couple of my sisters look like me, and a couple of them look like the.
Okay, well, not to interrupt, but we have a whole nother half of the family to go here.
Yeah. So no, it was really cool. Everything was great. It was a nice party, and and that was that. And then, so when it came back, that's when so Lara on Facebook there with the DNAngels, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like, no, this girl, for like almost 50 years.
This is a sign.
Yeah.
I got in touch with her, and she's just like, do the, what is it? The Ancestry.com, and I can help you out then. So, I got the test, and, within a couple weeks, you got the information that, Lara, and she took over from there. And it was like within, what was it? Like 2 weeks after you got it, maybe a month afterwards.
Yeah. It was a little bit of tricky part in there.
Like at first, we thought it might have been someone, else and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And then, on Ancestry, I guess we got a hit that I had like a first cousin. That narrowed it down to.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Looks a big
so it was, and then got all the information and everything. And, like a couple months went by, and, I didn't know what to do. I was going to write her a letter.
His mom is still alive. He's talking to his mom. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got her number, and one day I'm like, screw it, I'm going to call her. And, Lara's just like, make sure you know what you want to say. Cause like some people don't want you, don't want it could affect a lot of lives, And so I thought through it. I'm just like, I answer, the answer machine came on. I click, I hung up. I'm just like, all right, call back a couple minutes. Answer machine comes on. I'm just like, I told her my name. I'm like, I'm looking to see my family tree or something like that. Do you know anything about my cousin or something like that? So she calls back the next day, and she's just like, were you looking for information for your cousin or me? And I was just like,
she knew. She called you out.
Yeah. And she's like, the first thing she said is just like, I knew this day would come, and you had a good life. And I said, yes. And she said, oh, thank God. And it was like, from there we went, I was so nervous to talk to her, and stuff like that. Cause I didn't know what,
The more you talked to her though, did you get more relaxed?
Oh yeah.
Further into the conversation.
Yeah.
Did you tell her that you had met your biological father?
Yes.
What did she say about that? Does she remember him or?
Yeah, she remembers him, but she doesn't want to remember him because it was a bad situation. They were both young, and she got taken advantage of, I think, one night.
I'm so sorry.
So yeah, it's So she immediately after that happened, and she found out she was pregnant, she moved down to Florida. And it wasn't wasn't a convent, but it was like a house that held young women before pregnancy.
Right.
And then, and then she was, sent to the hospital. And this, I guess the Estelle woman with the adoption said that they were, they weren't going to give money, but they were going to pay for all her hospital bills. And that was the agreement. So yeah, she never saw me at birth, but just knew I was going to, like, from what Estelle said, I was going to a nice Jewish family.
And I love that was one of her first questions was, how was your life? Did you have a good life?
Yeah.
That tells you that she's thought about you, loves you,
Absolutely. She was, I said, thank you, for, going through all that and everything. I know it wasn't, the easiest thing to do. And, and she was like, she was just so happy that I was, doing well. And yeah, because she could never, she's like, basically I could never provide you with that kind of life back then because I was so young, and she was like, she was going to, like, school to be a nurse and stuff like that. But it would have.
Yeah.
And she didn't tell anyone, right?
She didn't tell anybody. Right? He actually said to, like, her, like, parents and sisters and relatives and stuff like that, that she had a miscarriage.
Oh, wow. Just
because there was, like, a lot of shaming going on with the right. nurses in the hospital down there in Florida, and she couldn't believe, like, how like mean they were to her, just for giving up a baby for adoption or something like that. I guess it was the times and stuff like that, but yeah, she.
Do you have any siblings with your mother?
I do not. I was the only.
She never had any more children.
No.
Wow.
And she's been married for, say, 48 or 49 years now.
Was it a choice for her to not have any more children? Do you know? Did y'all ever talk about that?
I think so. I think she's got some, stepkids with her husband. And because I think he was married, yeah, and had a couple kids. So she's got stepkids, and I guess that was, good for her, with her career and everything at the time. And yeah, so she never had any.
Have you met her?
I actually have met her. It was this year in March.
I need to hear every detail.
It was the most beautiful thing. Yeah, well, first of all, she's a master gardener and a master beekeeper.
That was the first thing that Dave and I, when I found a picture of her, I was like, oh my God, here she is.
Yeah. The big, like, sunflower or something like that.
Yeah. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah. And she, that was in January of 23. The first week of January in 23 is when I called her. Mm-hmm. And for that whole year, and until, whatever, March, we be on texting and talking on the phone when we can and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, like, are you, ever going to tell your husband, And she's like, I don't know if I can, because after all these years and everything, she feels it might mess up the, relationship. So I was like, I understand. I totally respect your wishes and everything. I won't, I won't, mess it up or anything, but I just really like to tell him, and because I think it'd be awesome to be able.
You don't want to feel like a secret.
Yeah, come down there and visit, and stuff like that. And it's like,
well, and also he has a first cousin match, her sister's son. So I mean, I kind of have a feeling eventually it's going to come out, Yeah. But you didn't do it. So you didn't do it. So,
Well, actually, I had, I think on the Ancestry or something, I tried to contact him before
Yeah.
I even got in touch with my mom. And I said, hey, I'm, your first cousin, like, can you tell me some stuff and everything? And he never got back to me. So
You probably didn't read it. So many people don't read their
Yeah.
messages on Ancestry. It's,
right. So
they just
after
want to see their ethnicity and then they don't go look anywhere else.
right, I got in touch with my mom the next day. I kind of took that off. So, like, so just in case, like,
Right.
so he didn't see it. I don't,
That was really kind of you. Really kind of you. So
I was just trying to be like, guy, then respect everybody's, like wishes and stuff like that. And so in this past March, she came up to and stayed with us for the weekend.
So she came and stayed with you without telling her husband? Her husband still doesn't know?
There was a ruse. There was a ruse.
I would hear about this.
That's good. We had always wanted to go to the Philadelphia Flower Show. And and so she said she was going and just staying with like some friends or something. And we were the friends, but
It's true.
So, picked her up and met her at the airport and stuff like that. And it was.
So tell me, meeting her at the airport and you first lay eyes on her, what goes through your head? What's in your, what emotions are you feeling?
It was kind of nutty because I was trying to meet her when she came out of the gate, out of the from the terminal, and I was at the wrong one or something like that, and I went down to the luggage, and I came back up, and then I went back down, and then I saw her at the luggage, and we just gave a big hug to each other, and it was.
Did y'all cry?
Yeah, it was like
tears.
It was like like good tears, for sure, and it was I just couldn't wait to like take her back to home here, and
Do you have children, David?
I do not.
You do not have children. Okay, I was wondering if there was grandchildren in the picture.
I do not. No.
So how did y'all get along? Was it awkward, or did it just feel like you just always knew each other?
We were always, like I said, we were always texting, all through the week, talking when we could, and stuff like that. And she got to know, my routines, and I got to know her routines through the phone. And when she came here, it was just like, it was just like, felt natural.
Good.
It was awesome.
How are y'all alike?
I think our smile and our like natural, like fun being, and I don't know anything about, beekeeping or anything, but, or like gardening, but I do a lot of landscape around, here. So.
I know that you had like a bunch of friends over when she was there. Were your parents there too? Did they meet her? I don't remember you telling me.
No, they did not. But I told them both about, that she was coming into town.
Were they supportive?
Yeah. They were like, oh, that's so cool.
That makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah. Cause it was like, at first I was like, am I going to upset my, adopted mom? It's like, am I going to upset her because, but she was just like, oh, wow. Like, and she totally like, like shocked me from like how, cool she was about it, and stuff. And my dad was just like, oh, that's awesome.
They know that you're not replacing them,
Right.
Now, did you tell your biological mom, did she ever know that the whole black market baby thing, or?
Well, yeah, like it was like, cause everything I was talking to her about, she's like, yeah, it was like, when she was like, I was, I kind of knew some things, and she was like, and she told me, I was just like, yeah, because I was like, she's like, yeah, you were born in, Daytona Beach Hospital, and, and when she said, yeah, like, the only thing she knew is that I was going to a nice, Jewish family, and then that's it. And they just, she's just like, and they just paid my hospital bills, and that was it,
Mm-hmm. She probably had no clue.
Yeah.
She was young too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess there was like a whole sting going on or something like that,
Yeah.
So, but
dramatic.
yeah, she was, so the next day, like, yeah, I took her all around, the hometown here and everything, and just showed her, where I grew up, and the schools I went to, and
I'm gonna ask that.
from Rolling Hills to Count,
Chris Holland.
Collins, yep, and then in high school, and
So did you go to the flower show?
Yes.
Oh, good.
On Sunday. It was awesome. Yeah, it was huge.
She had to get a souvenir to take it home. She was at the flower shop.
No, she loved it. It wasn't, there's only so much I could look at where, but we took a bunch of great pictures and stuff like that, but she was just loving every minute of it there. And then took her down to Market Street, and, did all the Philly things,
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
That's awesome. I'm surprised that with you having such a great story that your adopted sister, isn't interested in looking for bio family.
Yeah, I guess it's not in her cards right now, but I'll tell her to her again, but
Yeah.
It's definitely her choice. It's her journey for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
That's so exciting. But do you guys have any plans to meet up anytime soon, or
at
or
the
just
moment,
not so
no. Yeah, we'll have to.
I know you've been super busy this, last 6-8 months, but
Yeah.
so at least I'm so glad that you got to like see all these
Yeah.
people, know where you come from, which is crazy. So
Right.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So you said that you talk to her and text her. Do you have to like time it to where her husband's not home? Like, how does she explain who she's talking to? Do you ever discuss that?
No, I guess she has me down as whatever. I guess, could be just David. I don't know, could be that it's her friend from Philadelphia.
He's really into flowers. Not bees.
He's going to start being suspicious of David, though. Who is this David?
She'll she calls me a lot, like when, she can, stuff like that. But she's pretty busy herself too. So there's some weeks, like, we don't talk, or, or like, text like once or something like that, but, for most part, it's like, see how each other's doing and stuff like that. And
that's awesome.
She has some health problems and everything. Obviously I've had health problems like this past year and everything. So that was like one of the reasons I wanted to find out too, like about, your biological parents,
Right. You had to write NA through all your medical forms your whole life, not knowing,
right.
what to write down.
Yeah. So, well,
David, thank you so much for coming up on the show.
Yeah.
We really love your story, and I'm so glad that you have known Lara your whole life, and she was your angel for real in your
He calls
story.
me Angel. I used to have another nickname in high school, but he's been calling me Angel the last couple of years.
Do you have any advice for anybody that is adopted and scared to look for their biological family, but you just have that yearning to know, your biological truth? What advice do you have for those people?
I'd say don't be afraid to, because life's too short to not see where you came from. And also too, like with the health reasons, if you want to find out, find your biological parents, you find out a lot of your health issues or non-issues. And it's good to clear your mind and know that at least, you tried.
Right.
And, you'll sleep a lot better at night, instead of wondering what if or where,
Right.
and then, you can go from there. And, sometimes they might not be reciprocative or, want you to know, but if that
And
happens.
sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes I've worked adoption cases where I give contact information, and that contact information is a criminal background and all this stuff. And sometimes they're just like, I'm really good just seeing a picture and knowing a name, and that a lot of times that's enough for people. So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, take a chance.
Thanks, David. Thank you so much for being on the show.
All right, thank you guys for having me. And
you're welcome.
I'll talk to you soon.
Let the angel wings fly.
Bye, David.
All right.
Bye, Dave.
So funny.
Oh,
He seems like such a nice guy. He could tell he's very empathetic towards his biological mother.
He really is. He really is. Especially like from meeting both parents and understanding that there was something going on that, was it enough trauma that she fled home, went to Florida, lied about it, so, but, yeah, it's brave, but what he said was right. Like, you don't know unless you try, right? You can just wonder about it your whole life. So,
or you could take that leap of faith.
Yeah. I'm so glad. It's really nice that it's someone I know too. It makes it all better.
That's super cool. So right before I came on here, I had to sign out of my Ancestry DNA account to sign into one of ours. Mm-hmm. And I saw a message in my own personal Ancestry box. I got excited. No one ever messages me. Never. And I'm like, oh, maybe I have a long lost family I don't know about.
A brother.
So I thought it was super neat. She said, hi, I found you on Lost and Found No More Secrets on YouTube. I watch every show. And somehow and my name is just HK on Ancestry. So I'm like, oh, that's super interesting. But I thought that was so cool that I finally got a message from
one of your fans. See?
I know. I thought that was really cool.
I told you you're awesome at this.
Well, I think we're going to wrap up this show now. We look forward to seeing you next week. As always, if you can please subscribe, leave a comment. I'd like to know where everybody's from. Tell me what city, state. If you're in a different country, that would be super cool. But yeah, I'm always looking at the comments. I would love to know where everybody's watching from. We'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.